probably no better way to explain it if somebody doesn't understand what committed versus involved is that, do you bring bacon to the table breakfast, or do you bring the egg? So if you're the pig and you bring the bacon, you're committed fully to this breakfast. I mean, that's you done. Where if you're the chicken, you're involved in the breakfast, you give an egg, but you can live another day for another breakfast. I came back from Netherlands post-COVID, during COVID, and now find myself working with schoolboys, arguably one of the biggest schoolboy programs in the country. And we live in an environment where everybody wants results now. If you want something to eat, you pick up the phone and it's there within 30 minutes, whatever the scenario is. And I got the feeling that the young sportsmen out there currently, they'll dabble into something, and if they don't get results instantly, they'll just fade away, or they'll find something else to do. We've been speaking about culture and those things, and how do we get the youngsters of these days, or the community of these days, to invest into something, for the long run, for the cherry right at the end, where they want the cherry now, but they're not willing to invest time, energy, whatever it takes to get to that. Why are people not willing to do that now, and how do we get them to do that? I think that's the biggest question, is what do I do as a director of rugby to get boys to invest time and energy into something with, hopefully, a year down the line, there's something for him there. And that's the reason I started exploring this a little bit.
Yes, summarizing why this area is important for you, it's almost like the importance just there, what came out there, Hein, was that you don't want to see more individuals choosing these routes and pathways and not getting the most out of them.
Yeah.
Because when you do choose to go down these routes, as an individual, it can be tough, etc., and it can lead to more conflict than anyone's ready for. And so to avoid that, making sure people truly buy into what they're doing is important, right? That is that.
Absolutely.
But on the flip side, you don't want to give up your own resources, being involved with in environment and wasting your time, right? You don't want
Absolutely.
to be around people who don't get it.
Absolutely. So if I can give you an example, Oliver, is that a boy arrives with us at 14 years old. So he's got to play under 14, under 15, under 16, then he moves into the open teams. But to sell the dream of, you ask him under 14, do you want to play for the Springboks one day? Yeah, every South African boy will tell you that's his dream. Reality is only 23 can play on a Saturday out of a whole nation of, how many million playing rugby.
Yeah.
But to sell him that dream that if you want to become a Springbok at under 14 level, you got to train 3 times a week. And you got to do that for 5 years just to make the first team at your school. Then from there, the work gets harder because you got to make a provincial team to play at Craven Week. Then make SA schools, then make SA under 20s, then make a provincial team, actually play professional rugby before you can even get to the box. To sell them that dream as a 14-year-old is, any 14-year-old will look at you and like, well, that's too much work for me. So I've now, how do we break that down and say, okay, cool, what is the dream I want to sell you now in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, to get to your ultimate big why is like, I want to be a Springbok one day. And that's the challenge. And how do you keep him committed along the way with all the pathways that are, there's so many forks in the road. Do you go left? Do I go right? Do I go left? Do I go right?
Yeah.
How do I keep him on the straight and narrow to, I want to be a Springbok one day? How do I get him to that? And that's the challenge.
I think with the explosion of the internet, there's so much more awareness around everything. And it probably creates a much more complex view of life, where there are so many options. You don't just get bogged down in something and get consumed by it. You can do so much more in life. And I think that's the way I see a lot of this. Is it's not, it is a challenge to take the way we've always had all of our institutions, all of our I suppose, are parts of our lives, and gearing it, as you say, create environments where we can truly commit to or be involved with, right?
It's true, and I think you mentioned, the internet. I actually would like to go a step further and say social media, where everybody's life looks great on Twitter and Instagram, and the pictures are beautiful, but you can't really see the building blocks of how people got to where they are. You see these superstars posting stuff, but no superstar really posts, very few, let's put it that way, post the hard work that goes in. We spoke about the 5 a.m. mornings where they get up, or the 12-hour days that they've got to work to get to where they need to be. The modern kid of today doesn't see that on his phone. He only sees the end result, and he wants to get there as soon as he can. We need to find a way to explain to them, but it's not that simple. The amount of options out there for just some of my word is now sport. My world is sport. So the options for oaks out there to go explore. In the 90s when we grew up, you finish school, you get to varsity, and that was it. There's no real other option where you had to go. Now, modern rugby players at 18-year-old sits with 5 contracts in front of him. Which one is the best one? The options for them is so much more than what we ever had. So one thing about getting people committed is also we as humans always, what's in it for me?
Quite rightly said. There's this piece of work to be done, isn't there? Where you work out as a team what it is that unites you all. What could unite you? And I think, as suggested earlier, I'm British, you're South African.
Yeah.
How much as a society have we ever bought into superior causes? We get up, we work, we get on with it. That's our lives. And so it almost feels artificial talking like this. But actually, if you want to bring teams or communities together, the only way is by understanding what it is we're all trying to achieve as a group. So a lot of the way we're educated, you put it in classroom, you're encouraged. If you're top of maths, that's great. You're not really encouraged that, if you're great at maths, bringing your colleagues along that journey, helping them get better, that's more than you going and getting the top grade. You won't hear that. But that's probably where things need to start going. We need to be stronger, stronger individuals at seeing the bigger picture, the community picture. Because if we're all meant to have, mega yachts, individual islands, that's how we're all meant to exist. Well, there shouldn't be very many of us in this world, should there? It should be fairly solitary. So maybe the world isn't just about attaining mega wealth and doing all that. Maybe it's about more collectively what we achieve. Maybe.
If somebody signs up for something or in the sporting world starts on a journey, nobody starts off fully committed. I think everybody starts off involved.
Okay.
And then becomes committed. Through the journey.
I remember when I first started playing rugby, I'd say I was quite committed, but what I was committed to probably wasn't always aligned to the environments I was in.
I really understand what you're saying.
Because I think committed is that full-on buy-in for me. It's just, if I buy into something else and you buy into something else, it may feel like to you, I'm not committed at all. But I'm just not committed to what you're committed to. And that will feel like I'm not committed to anything. If anything, I'm bad. Does that make sense?
That's so in the team environment, and in the business world as well, where I might be doing whatever I can to the best of my abilities, and I'm going full guns blazing, but what you as a boss or you as a coach want might be different. And I think that's the challenge where we as leaders need to go and say, okay, but hang on, I need to get everybody on the same page, in the same direction, doing the same thing to achieve a goal at the end of the day. And sports 20 years ago, I think coaches and leaders did it without thinking. And we're now thinking about the process, and we're creating stuff, and we go like, okay, but hang on, how do I now get you that are a rugby player that you think you're fully committed, you give it everything, But the coach looks at you and go, but it's not really what I wanted. How do I change that? And how do I make you part of the team? So you're still committed to going 100 miles an hour for 80 minutes. How do I keep that, but get you on the same road as the other 22 buggers in the team and the coaching and going that way as well? And that's the challenge. And I think that's what makes it difficult, especially if you're at the top and coaching and running a business at the highest level. That's the biggest challenge we face these days.
Sometimes it looks like that the teams around them have committed to the individuals rather than a higher purpose. So all these changes are iterative. You know, they'll come in, they'll go a cycle, people get tired of it, and then it moves on to the next iteration. And I think that's always such a shame to watch. And, you know, when we're talking about committed versus involved, there's an element where you'd say, well, does that teeter on being involved? And again, I don't know, because I think when we talk about involved, I think maybe that's the existence we've all promoted in some way by just dictating to people. So, for example, you know, with my kids at home, the way I used to act with them, it was very much, okay, this needs doing, this needs doing, this needs doing. And they'd either do it or not, and it would be up to a certain level or it wouldn't. And you'd say, okay, well, likewise at work, you say, okay, we want people who come in, they'll do this, and then they'll come in, they'll clock out, and things are done to a level. And you'd say a lot of that interaction is relatively just involved. You know, it's people coming in, doing what they're meant to, and going. So what is it in this committed area that is so fascinating? And for me, it's about the energy that you start to see. You know, the peripheral vision, the lateral thinking, and the surprising results that you would have never expected. You get the surprising. Whereas with involved, you very much get what, you know, above or below expectation, but not too much either way. Likewise with committed, you can get curveballs, you know, but it's how much you embrace curveballs and go, well, actually, someone's done that for a reason. Yeah, it threw off the game today, but actually it could have gone another way. And, you know, you see people like, you know, Finn Russell, who'll chuck a pass out of nowhere and it can go completely the wrong way. But equally, it can go completely the right way.
The other way as well.
Actually, everything we do needs to be about something greater. It can't be, we can't accept that we just get on with things. Yes, we've all, a lot of us have grown up that way where we just get on with what's in front of us. But if we're to maintain teams around us, we've got to get very comfortable with understanding what it is that's going to bring us all together, right?
And for me, you know, the biggest challenge is that it's not, it's something that needs to be revisited constantly. It's not beginning of the season or beginning of a work year. Now this is where we're going, and then just, okay, now it's settled and you put it in the corner. It's something that needs to be rechecked constantly. Are you still okay? Are we still on the same page? Like I said, people change, things evolve, teams change. And it needs to be visited, revisited, looked after, and almost like a little plant. It's something that needs to be nurtured. You know, and you can't start from scratch every year. You got to build on what you've done, change if change needs to be. It's actually, you know, we say it's easy, but it's actually hard work to keep a culture.
But I think what I was hoping for is that, well, actually you can focus on both at the same time, and you should. You should, because we all need to eat. We all need to make enough money, so that never gets sacrificed. But we need to prioritize culture enough that there's, as you said, work constantly and consistently on both sides, so that over time everything starts feeding itself, if that makes any sense.
It does.